Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Vanessa and I am your instructor for the evening. I'm super excited to have you all here. I've been with Sippin' and Painting for almost 4 years, and I hosted a Zoom meeting last Friday night and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and we are going to repeat that this evening. So I just want to let you know that if you don't have all of these supplies, it's okay. Just use whatever you have around your house. That's okay. If you don't have an art studio, that's okay. Just paint anywhere you'd like. If you're outside, awesome. I see somebody outside. That's very cool. I'm in my art studio today, which is also my my closet. So I'll give you guys a pan around to show you how resourceful you can be. I took an extra room out of my house and made it into a place where I put all my shoes and my clothing and my art supplies. So you get to see all my, that's a painting I'm working on over there, and just some my mural that I painted. This used to be my daughter's nursery. So I don't believe in guest rooms. I feel like you should just have your own little space. So I'll give you guys some more info on supplies and how we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna put my camera up to my canvas, so you won't be seeing me, you'll be seeing me painting. And I will also hold it up to the screen so that you can see up close. If you need to, you know, get the details a little bit closer. I also have a printout here, so if anybody wants to take a photograph of this screen right now, you can have it on your phone and you can reference it. That's kind of a helpful little trick there. So you can, yeah, I'll hold this up for another minute or so that you can take a photograph of it. Okay. At any point during the class, if you need to go take a break, you don't need to let us know. You just wander off and do your thing and then just come back when you're ready. Okay. As Nancy said, this will be recorded. So after the class, it will be posted online. If you have questions, if you missed a step or anything like that, you can always ask. This is a very simple painting. I think you're going to enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun, and you'll have some creative liberty as well. If you have paint markers, you can use those. If you have crayons, if you have any type of art supplies that you want to use it. If you're using paint like I am today, awesome, that's what we're going to do. I've already put my paint on my palette, which is just a paper plate. We just need primary colors plus black and white. All right, and this is just a little cheap palette that I have. I might use this also. If you don't have a second place to put your paint, you could use another plate, a sheet of paper. Sometimes I use foil or a piece of plastic. Anything that's kind of non-porous, you can put on, use paint and use that as a palette. All right, so I'm going to be using 3 brushes today. I'm going to be using a small detail brush, and let me hold this up so that you can see it. The small detail brush, and I'm going to be using a medium brush. Okay, and I'm going to be using a larger brush, so I'm going to use this to paint with. You probably have one that's smaller that looks a little bit more like this. You can use that. Okay, so lots of options. Use whatever you have available, as I said, and you'll be just fine. Also, you'll want to have a jar of water. I like to use 2 sometimes, just so that I don't have to go to the sink when I need more. So if you want to use 2 jars, go for it. If you have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine. If you're having water, have water or a beer or soda, whatever. It's good to have your refreshment next to you. Put it away from your brushes and your paint supplies so you don't accidentally dunk your paintbrush into your Merlot, right? Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm gonna shift my laptop around so that you have a good view here. And I hope that this is okay and you can see it all right. I might just scooch back just a little tiny bit here. Okay, move this out of the way and let's get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and getting my paper towels prepared. I like to just have a roll of paper towels. You can also use an old t-shirt if you don't have a lot of paper towels, and you can, you know, use that to dry off your brushes. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, the background, kind of hard to see because it's very busy. There's a lot of leaves, but it's yellow. It's pure yellow. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint the entire canvas with yellow, and you want to mix your acrylic paint with a little bit of water, okay? Acrylic paint is a water-based, so you can thin it out, and that's actually going to help you spread that much easier. It's going to make your paint go farther. Okay, so you use like, you know, 95% paint and 5% water, if you think about it in percentages, so that you can get a nice thin coat on there and get it covered. So let's go ahead and do that. And take my brush, the biggest one, whatever biggest brush you have to work with, take that, and let's just start with yellow. I just like to add a little white to my yellow because I like the tone it creates here. It just makes it just slightly lighter. So I've added a touch of white to my yellow just because I want to. Okay, so if you want to add a little white to it, go for it. And then just paint the entire surface, and I'm just going to use nice long brush strokes like this. Nice and even. And then once you finish the surface yellow, go ahead and do your sides as well if you're using a gallery style canvas that has the 4 sides. So go ahead and do all 4 sides as well. And give you all a few minutes to do that. I think it'll take you less than, you know, 10 minutes to paint the entire thing yellow. So let's go for it. And if anybody has any questions, you can text Nancy, or excuse me, chat your questions to Nancy, and she will answer them promptly. Or I will. She'll send me a message. All right, let's give you all another minute to finish up the surface of your canvas. And then if you don't mind, you want to make sure that you put your brush down and keep it in the water so that this has just a couple minutes to dry, okay? So the longer it takes you to paint, the longer it's going to take you to dry your painting, right? So just finish it up and then just let it dry. Stretch your legs if you want, refresh your drink. You know, text all of your friends and let them know that you're doing this cool Zoom class so they can join a class next week. Whatever you want, but definitely don't continue painting once you're done so that it has a chance to dry. So it's 6:47. I will check in with everyone at let's say 6:53. That gives it about 5-6 minutes to dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Just so that you know what's coming up, we're going to be using black paint, and we're going to use a smaller brush and start to get our tree on here. Okay, so that's what's coming up. If you don't have your black paint on your palette yet, go ahead and put a little bit on there. Don't use a lot. So look at mine if you want to real quick here. You see what a small amount of paint I have. It's about the size of a quarter. Start with that. And then if you need more, get some more. But you can't really put it back in the tube once it's, you know, on your palette. So I like to be conservative with my paint so that I don't waste it.
How's everyone doing out there? So far, so good? Nice, nice. Saw a thumbs up, great. All right. Katrina says we're great. Awesome. It's so strange for me to be in a class and not hear music, but hopefully you've got some fun tunes going on at your place, or maybe you're enjoying quiet. While Vanessa is taking, I don't know where she is, but while she's off for a moment, I just want to let you know that we're not officially opened at our studio. I'm here for studio hours to provide kits for people who are taking advantage of our free classes. We're also selling some face masks for sale. They're hand painted, Monet inspired tie-dyed face masks that kind of look like a Monet painting. And I've got those for sale here too. So our teachers are currently not working in the studio, but Vanessa has volunteered to teach for you. So it is a special treat for us to have her on Friday nights. And she put her Venmo address at the bottom of her screen. I asked her to. And so if you enjoy painting with Vanessa tonight, please do remember her with her virtual tip jar, which is Venmo, and because she does a great job for us, and she is doing this out of the goodness of her heart. So I'm going to stop talking, let Vanessa go back to teaching, because I saw her hand. I know she's there. Anyway,
Here.
Vanessa.
Hi, sorry about that. I had to go make a run downstairs and let my dog out. My dog is extremely old, and I have to let her outside every about hour and a half. So sorry about that. And I could hear her downstairs. I could hear her little paws running across the floor. So I wanted to make sure I took her outside. Also, she's deaf, so if I let her out, she won't come back. I have to go pick her up and bring her. So poor thing. Sorry. Here we go. So we're going to start painting the tree. So here I have my black, and as I said before, I'm only going to use a little bit, and so black is extremely thick. I like to add a little bit of water to it because of the thickness, and that's going to give you a much cleaner, thinner line. So let me go ahead and show you here. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it into the water and then into the black, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I like the thickness of it. So if you're familiar with maybe like a liquid eyeliner, or maybe like melted ice cream, those are the thickness that you want this paint to be. So not runny, not enough for it to drip down your canvas, but definitely a nice thin consistency is really what you want to achieve here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my paint nice and thin, and let's take a look at our original here. So I'm going to hold this up, and so you will see that this tree has a lot of roots. So a tree almost looks like a tree underground, the same way it looks above ground. Okay, so we're going to start off with the top part of the tree, and then we'll do the roots in after. But take note where the roots are. So if you were to paint your tree, I'm going to turn my camera here so that you can see my canvas here. So if you were to paint your tree and start it down here where my hand is, you're not going to see the roots. Okay, so you have to start your tree right about center and then let it go outward, and then you'll be able to have a lot of roots showing at the bottom. So I'm just taking my medium brush and I'm going to paint my tree like this. Here's the center of my canvas, and what I want is a nice trunk. So I'm just going to, let's see, I'm going to start off here off to the side and then press down and create, this is almost like a banana shape. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, sort of like this. That's going to be the base of my tree. So you can see right here where it starts to flare out, here's where you're going to start embellishing it and adding a lot of the branches. But start off with this basic shape. Try to get it in the center. Okay. Also feel the pressure of your brush. When you push down hard on your brush, it's going to make a really thick brush stroke, and then as you release it or kind of loosen up the pressure and come off the canvas, it's going to be much, much lighter, and you're going to make a thinner brush stroke. Okay, so go ahead and get those two shapes on there, and then I'll show you what to do next. All right, I'm going to move on here. So what I like to do is create the bigger, thicker branches. So if you take a look at the original here, you'll see that there's probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major branches that are thick, right? Do you see those? Then all of the others come off those. So it's almost like your arm and then your fingers, right? So see how your arm is thick and then it gets thinner at the wrist, and then your little digits there are the smallest of the tree branch. So if you always think of your tree in those terms, you won't mess it up. So I don't ever see people mess up their trees, but if I do, it's because they went really thick on the branches towards the ends when they should be really thin and dainty. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and I will show you how to create those 5 or 6 thicker branches. So here where I made my first banana shape, I'm just going to take my brush with some black paint and just come outward with it. Actually, let me see here. There we go. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. So press and then come outward. So it's kind of an out and up. It's not all the way out to the side, and it's not straight up. It's very curvy. So really imagine a tree and what its branches are doing. And then here, I'm going to do another one. All right. So this tree has about 5 or 6. Maybe I have room for 1 more major branches. Maybe 1 about right here. All right. Don't worry about making details. So let me show you here. See how abruptly I stopped on this one? It's okay to do that. I'd rather you do that than make it super thick right here, excuse me, right here where it finishes off. Don't try not to make this really thick. That needs to go to thin. Okay? And then we'll fill in the details with a smaller brush. This is okay. All right, I'm going to jump ahead for those of you that are finished. You're going to do the same thing for the roots. The roots, we're going to imagine that the roots are a little bit more of a squiggle. Okay, so underneath the ground, they're just fighting for nutrients and water And it's way more chaotic underground, right? Up above, it's easier, I feel like. And I'm just gonna make these squiggles. These are really covering more of the ground in this sense here, okay? So this is about what you want. It's like a 50-50. 50-50 roots and branches above. And it's okay if they're jaggedy. If you'll notice, look at the original. You won't be able to see all the details. Don't get caught up in making this perfect. This is the skeleton. And let's give everybody about 3 minutes to finish up this part, and then we'll move on. All right. How's everybody doing so far? I hope you're doing okay. If you want to turn your picture towards your screen, I would love to see where everyone is. You don't have to, but if you want to share your artwork, I feel like it's super important to share and show others what you're doing. Awesome. Beautiful. All right. All right, good job. Looks good. Very good, guys. Love it. Ooh, this looks this looks like a smashed spider right now, but I promise you, we're gonna get there. All right, very cool. All right, good job, everyone. Okay, so now that we've got the basics on here for the tree, the branches, now we're gonna switch to whatever small brush that you have. Let me show you mine here. So I'm using a very small brush. Really important to get your point very pointy. Okay, so sometimes what I do is I dunk it in water and then I just kind of work it like this so that I can get a nice sharp point at the end there. That's what you want. So then I dunk it in water again, and I'm going to pick up black. So notice how I do this. I put a droplet of water on my paint, and then I just mix it around. And then I really get that point nice and sharp again. All right, so this is where you get to kind of go crazy and create a bunch of smaller branches. So I'm just going to move this a little closer here. So if I press my brush here, I'm going to do one right here on the side, and then twist my brush, kind of make a squiggle, and then finish that line off really clean. You're going to get really nice variation in line thickness, and also you're going to really create a realistic looking branch. So I'm going to do it again. Just going to press, twist, and then just come up like this. Again, So here on this big thick trunk, or excuse me, big branch here, a thick one, I'm going to make maybe 2 or 3 smaller branches on it. So each one of these will get 2 or 3 and maybe even 4 if you have room for it, branches. And then each one of those branches will house another 1 or 2. And as they get further away from the heart of the tree or the trunk, they get thinner and smaller, okay? Also, you want to make sure that you avoid any straight lines. You don't want to do a line that looks like this, very straight, or you don't want it to come up like this. So all of these very geometric shapes just don't exist in nature. Really, everything has a very soft roundness to it, which is why it's so beautiful, because it's not man-made. It's completely natural in that sense. And trees, if you don't know this, I know we all experienced the windstorm last Saturday. And I really thought that I was going to lose my trees on my property. I have about 15 trees, and I always worry about my trees. And I thought, oh my gosh, a tree's just going to fall right over on top of my house. And trees are so strong. They're so amazing. As long as their roots are healthy and they're in good health, they will stay put. It's when they die or they're dying, that they get blown over. And leaves are very aerodynamic. So all the veins and all of the way that leaves are shaped, they're created that way to absorb wind power and not blow over. So it's all very amazing. I thought that was fascinating. Did not lose any trees. Fortunately, I hope none of you did. But when you look at a tree, you just have to respect its magnificence, I think. All right, so I'm going to keep doing this. This is going to take you guys about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more. So take your time. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes, check on you. I'm going to paint, and you watch as needed, work on yours, but also take a look at your screen and see what I'm doing if you need to. This is a huge tree. It is not going to be contained by a canvas. So what I mean by that is some of these branches are so big, they might just come right off the canvas, and that's okay. So don't worry about containing your tree. If you look at the original again, look how big he is. It doesn't fit on the canvas, and that's kind of the point of this painting, that like this tree is bigger than life itself. So it's okay if some of your branches just shoot right off the canvas, and some of your roots too. But don't worry about roots yet. We're just working on this top part. All right. How is everyone doing? Does anybody need more time? I just want to check in on you. If you need a little bit more time, that's totally fine. Do watch what I'm going to do next and then go at your own pace. That's totally okay. So I'm going to work on the roots next. So if you want, if it's easier for you, you can turn your painting upside down. And then you can work this way. And actually, this could be interchangeable. You might look at your painting after you finish the roots and say, I want this to be the up and this to be the down. So you can absolutely have that liberty to change which side goes up, because basically a tree looks the same underground. I made these a little bit more squiggly, which, you know, that's okay. It could be branches as well. But I'm going to continue doing the same thing. So I'm taking my small brush and I'm putting water into my black paint because I want it nice and thin. And then I'm going to go ahead and start creating these smaller roots. And I like doing the roots way more squiggly. So you'll see my own style kind of showing through here. I just think they're fun. You can see when the paint starts to run off your brush, like when you need more water or paint, it'll tell you. You can feel it, you could see it. Go ahead and do all of the roots. Let some of them just come right off the canvas. Sorry, that's my old gal barking at my neighbor. I closed the door, but sorry if you could still hear her. Very nice. Oh, very cool. I like your trees looking good. Wow, we got some good artists out there. Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful, beautiful paintings.
All right, so once you have your roots down, you want to put your brush in the water and then just let this dry. And I don't want you to get too caught up in the details because, again, I'm going to hold the original up here. You'll see that it's essentially just covered in all kinds of different color leaves. It's just kind of an explosion of leaves, okay, in all colors. So any areas that you don't love, so if you accidentally, you know, on mine here, let me show you. I'm just going to point right here. I made a little mistake here. So this is very thick here, and I didn't mean for that to happen. That's okay. What I'm going to do is when I start painting all of my leaves, I'm going to cover that up. Okay, so you might have a couple areas where you're like, I went a little crazy with the brush. It's a little heavy. That's fixable. All right, so it is 7:26. So at 7:30, I'm gonna start working on all of the different color leaves. So definitely give this a couple minutes to dry. You don't want to continue painting, and when you start adding your leaves, it's going to add black to your colors. You want this to be completely dry. So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, okay? We'll say 7:31 for those of you that are still painting, but finish up and then we'll continue on afterwards. So if you need to stretch your legs, run to the restroom, this is a great time to do that. All right, so are you all ready to move on? Do you feel pretty good about your progress here? Thumbs up if your video's on. Thumbs up on your little thumbs up icon. Cool. Okay, awesome. All right, here we go. So let's take a look at the original here. So when I'm doing paintings like this that require a lot of different colors but doing the same technique, I want to start off with the lightest ones first and then kind of graduate to darker and cooler. So I would start off with probably the white and then move on to red. Then you could move on to green and then blue. All right. So let's start off with some white because I feel like that's the safest color to start with. So very important that your painting is dry. Also, just figure out which you want to be up. Where's your roots? Where's your branches? So these are my roots. I'm gonna turn this around because my painting was upside down. Do you have a question?
What brush will we use for the leaves?
Oh, okay, good question. So we're gonna use the medium brush. So let me show you here. Mine was sitting in the water, and remember we used black paint. So you wanna make sure that you clean your brush really well, especially because we're using white. So if you wanna run to the sink real quick and clean your water, I have a second water jar, so I'm going to use that, but this is what my water jar looks like right now. So if you wanted to refresh your water, this is a great time to do that. Good question. And I just make sure that there's no black paint left on my brush. All right, and then so what I'm going to do is just sort of figure out, let's see here. I'm actually going to start at the top. Okay, so here's my white paint. And don't use a lot of paint. You want to keep this thin. The reason we want to keep it thin is because each color is going to take a couple minutes to dry. So if you add it on there really thick, it's going to take an hour to dry. So really be careful of how much you're applying on your painting here. So what you want really is just, and watch how I'm going to do this, taking my medium brush. This is in slow motion, right? I'm just taking it and kind of making little square patterns. I'm not going to take the time to draw each leaf. It's just going to be like a little square, just a really quick brush stroke. Okay, so I'm actually going to hold this right here so I feel like you can see it a little bit better. And very random. I want to really move around the canvas. Also, this is a flurry of leaves all over. So you also want to add these leaves off to the side and on the ground. Let's see, I'm spacing them out. I'm also using both sides of the brush. When I do a brush stroke, I will press left and right and really get that paint off both sides of the brush. Very thin. Just like that. One place where you don't want to add any of this technique is on the trunk. So avoid this here. And the reason is we really want to be able to see your tree, the majority of it. It's okay if you get a little bit of leaves over on the trunk, just slightly, but really make a conscious effort not to cover the trunk with leaves. Very nice. Looks good. All right. Oh, very cool. Love it. You have a nice, strong tree trunk there, Katrina. Very good. Does anybody else want to share? Oh, very good. That looks awesome. Love that. The good balance. The top and the bottom, they feel very balanced. I love that. Everybody take a look at your screen when people are sharing if you want to take a look and see what other people are doing. Good job, Shannon. Thank you, Marina. Nice. Very good. Really nice. It's really important, I think, as students to just take a glance at what others are doing. I think you can get inspired. You can learn. Feel like that's, ooh, love that. Really do. It feels really, really, really artistic. I love that. Jen McCoy, thank you. I love that. Good, strong tree trunks there. That tree is definitely not going to blow over in the wind. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So now that we've gotten the white on there, and I've run out of yellow because I used up all of my yellow for my background. So I'm just going to come over to my paint station and I'm going to grab a little bit more yellow paint. You don't need a lot. I'm just going to get a little tiny bit here because what I want is I'm going to mix orange. You're not going to put yellow on your painting. It's going to disappear, right? Because your background's already yellow. So I've just put a little tiny dot here and I'm going to make orange. And I'm using my medium brush. So from here on out, it's medium brush. So if you're using other brushes, put them in the water so that they don't get dehydrated and die, because brushes will. Think of your brush as once it's got paint on it, it needs to constantly be damp in water or dry with no paint on it. So once your brush touches paint, make sure he stays in the water. So big brush, tiny brush, those are living in the water right now. Now I'm using my medium, and there was a little bit of white paint on my brush, and that's okay because I'm okay with a little bit of white going into my orange mixture. So here's what I've got. This is, I would say that's a bit of a salmon orange. I want it to be a little more true orange, so I'm just going to put a little extra yellow on here. So I've added a little more yellow. That's what I want. Good. Yes. David Sapp. Yep. Very good. And you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to, and I really actually do recommend a tiny, tiny bit of white in this mixture. So if you still have white on your brush, use that white, because what happens when you add a little white to your paint, it covers the black a little bit better, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just going to start adding nice, big, healthy, orange colored leaves. And any areas where you kind of went a little paint heavy with the black, this is your opportunity to start covering that up a little bit. And just use both sides of your brush like this and get nice variation in there. If you start to see yourself creating a pattern, try to break that up. We really don't want defined patterns on here. It's random. Very random, natural. Our mind always wants to create a pattern because we're very accustomed to that as humans. We find order in patterns, but nature doesn't work that way. The leaves just fall and land where they may. So that's what we want to try to replicate here. And again, don't paint the center of your tree. Leave this black. Gives it really nice contrast. The black against all of these different colors. That's part of the composition. If we were to throw leaves all over it and barely have the trunk showing, it would take away from the tree's like power and the trunk. So don't put leaves on that area. Wow, love those. Yep, looks good. Really nice. I love that we have some kids this weekend. Really cool. Oh, wow. Very nice. Good job. You get a solid thumbs up from me. Those are amazing. All right. Very cool. Okay. So got orange on there. Next color that I want to work on is solid red. So definitely take a moment and I'll show you here. I'm going to clean my brush really well. Make sure that I've got no paint on my brush, and then I'm going to go in with my red. So you kind of feel we're going through the colors of the rainbow a little bit. We're going to go red, and yeah, love this. And here's where you want to overlap on some of your leaves. So don't just find yellow spaces in between the colors. It's okay to, you know, interrupt the flow and go over orange, go over white. That's okay. And I love red, so be as generous as you want with it. I think it's a good idea to squint sometimes. So when you squint your eyes and look at something, the details go away. You only start to see a lot of solid blocks. So when you squint your eyes and you look at your painting, you might say, oh, there's a lot of color here, but not so much here. So squinting kind of helps you determine that. So when you see artists squinting, that's why they do it, because it really defines the main shapes and kind of puts everything else off to the back. So when I squint and I look at my painting, I can kind of feel where I need to add more of one color, or where it's really light and where it's really heavy. And feel free to turn your canvas sideways or upside down or any way you need to in order to reach areas that you couldn't before. That's what I'm doing. I've turned my painting completely upside down so that I can paint these kind of hard to reach areas. It's really filling in now. We've got a lot of action happening now. We no longer look like smashed spiders. This really feels like a very happy tree. Lots of confetti. All right. Also, sometimes this becomes so much fun that you will just go absolutely crazy, and then you have to stop yourself. So be careful you don't overdo your red. Okay, so like I said, I love red, but I think I'm going to stop at this point. Okay, I've got red all over, yet I still have a fair amount of yellow showing. See? So when you get to about this point, it's fair to just stop and just put your brush in the water and just take a couple minutes to let this dry. Okay, it's not going to dry completely. For example, the white is completely dry, our white leaves. The orange is dry. The red is very wet. So let's take just a couple minutes to let that red dry. And then we'll start moving on into our cooler colors. So I'd like to add some green next. So look at your palette. Do you need more yellow? So take a look. I definitely need more yellow because I'm going to mix the yellow with blue. Ooh, nice job. Oh, I love that. Very good. So I'm going to mix yellow and blue next. So check your palette, take a few minutes to stretch, and also maybe this is a good time to refresh your water. So if your water has gotten really muddy and your brushes need a little bit of cleaning, go ahead and do that. And at 7:55, we will continue on. All right, so if everybody wants to just take a look up here real quick. I want to toast if anybody is celebrating something tonight, or if you have a reason for being with us, we'd love to hear it. So take a moment and maybe unmute your speaker and let us know if you're celebrating anything, and we'll toast. I'm just having some water here, so it's not as good as wine, but it'll do. All right, is anybody celebrating anything tonight?
It's Chloe's birthday today.
Chloe, all right, happy birthday, Chloe. How old is Chloe today?
She's 16 now.
Oh my gosh, awesome. All right, 16, sweet 16, spending it with us painting tonight during a pandemic. That's pretty epic, I have to say. When you get to be my age, you can look back and say, I remember when I turned 16 during coronavirus. So cheers to you, Chloe. We appreciate that you're here tonight, and may it be a memorable experience for you. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else celebrating something tonight? Just a nice Friday evening out of the heat. It's really hot outside today, so it's kind of nice that we're all indoors. Cool. Well, I'm super happy to be with all of you tonight. I love Friday nights. I work full time, so this is kind of a nice way to end my work week. So cheers to all of you, and thank you for joining us tonight. Also, this is something that I have been doing recently. I have a lot of canvases based, because of my job, and my daughter also likes to paint, so we always buy canvases. So recently what I've done is just started nailing them to my fence outside. And I started doing this about a couple of years ago, and they're actually really durable. And throughout the rain and the winter, really nothing happens to them. So if you start to collect paintings on canvases like this, or if you just want to kind of practice and start doing some paintings with Sippin' and Painting Hampden or on your own, and you have a fence, you can nail them to your fence and it looks really cool. So just an idea. Sometimes you kind of run out of decorating space in your house, so start taking them outside. Why not? Even if you live in an apartment complex, put one painting outside of your door or on your patio. You don't have to limit your artwork to inside of your house. You can start taking it outside. So that's what I've done. And maybe this will be like, one of your debut outdoor paintings that you display. All right, so we said we're going to do green next. So I'm going to add, and I've run out of yellow. So again, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to my palette. And make sure that you clean your medium brush really well. All right, make sure the red is out of there. I like to just kind of pull that paint off and look at my paper towel and make sure that it's clean. And then I've got my blue. Find a little area to mix your paint on your palette. And create green. Now it's going to look a little dark, so add a little white to it. That'll lighten that up. It's a bit of an army green, but that's fine. That'll work. Your green might look a little different based on what blue you're using. Even the primary colors have a little tint of something else in them, so your green might not look quite like this. And then you want to go ahead and start adding your green to your painting in the same manner you did all the others. Actually, I'm going to grab a little more, a different color here, still using green. All right, there you go. So I need a little more yellow, making a nice shade of green, and adding this. Be careful if you see red on your canvas that's very wet, avoid it. Okay, if you mix green and red, you will get brown, and you don't want that. This is a very happy primary color painting, so don't make brown. So just skip over the red if it's still wet. If it's dry, you can go over it a little bit. Again, don't forget to turn your canvas upside down, sideways, whatever works for you.
I'm sorry, my internet crashed. What color are we on? I just finished with red.
Oh, no problem. So what we're doing now is we're adding green. So you can make green by mixing yellow and blue. You can also add a tiny bit of white to that mixture, and that's going to get you a little bit of a lighter shade of green. And you're basically doing the same thing. The only thing I urge you to take caution with is painting over wet red. So if you paint over a big red spot with green, it's going to turn it brown. So that's the only thing I would tell you. Be very careful that you don't accidentally do that. Sorry about your internet. That's a bummer, but you didn't miss much, I promise. I would say definitely check out our YouTube channel. We have several videos posted on there. So definitely start following us on YouTube. You'll see other instructors that we have at Sipping. Thea, she's been with us for a really long time. Also Katie and Nancy, who's the owner. So you can definitely check out different instructors on our YouTube channel. I encourage you to do that, and you'll also learn a lot of other cool painting techniques if you feel like painting is something that you want to continue doing. All right. I'm looking at mine and I'm liking my coverage. I can still see the yellow, so make sure that you don't cover all of it. You want that yellow to peek through. It's important that we don't completely cover it, but you know, you really want to get some nice even coverage there. And again, squint, step back, you'll be able to see gaps. When you start to kind of feel like, am I using too much green? Yes. You will answer your own question sometimes when you're painting. When you start to feel like you're overdoing it or you need to put your brush down, definitely listen to that instinct and put your brush down, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there and give you all another minute or so to finish up with the green, and then we will go into blue, and then we'll be finished.
Vanessa, they sure look pretty.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they are doing a great job here. Let me check here. I accidentally got a little paint on my pants. I don't have my apron on because my house is extremely hot right now, and so I was like, I'm not gonna wear an apron, it's too hot. So I'm not wearing an apron, and I got white on myself, so I was trying to clean that off before I looked at my screen here.
I'm seeing two different kids in the both holding up their paintings. They're so cute. Do you see those?
Yeah, they look really good. Love that.
Hey.
Very nice.
Oh, look.
Oh, yeah,
Too beautiful.
it looks great.
Sorry to interrupt. I just had to.
Oh, okay.
Those painters that were showing off their paintings. They look
Oh,
so.
yeah. Beautiful work. Nice job, guys. Make sure that you put the date on your painting, okay? Super important. There's paintings that I did back in 1996 and 7 or 2001. I don't remember, and I never dated them. So definitely put the date on the back so that you can look at your painting 20, 30. Oh, beautiful. Oh, I love that contrast. I love that. Nice. Really good job.
I think that family has a whole forest.
They do. They did an amazing job. Good work, girls. Really nice. Very cool. And now that you know how to paint this, you can do it again. So sometimes when I find something that I like to paint or I want to try to learn how to paint better, I'll paint it a couple of times. I might paint this tree 2 or 3 more times before I really start to feel like I'm getting good at it. It's almost like a recipe. If you bake or if you've ever cooked something, sometimes you like, well, that didn't turn out. Next time I do this recipe, I'm going to add more of this or this. Painting can be the same way. You can paint the same thing a couple of times so that you really get good at it and you feel comfortable. So a lot of artists will paint the same thing over and over again until they become good at it. So don't ever think you only have to paint something once. You can do it over again. So, very nice. Thank you for sharing. All right, so now we're gonna just add in the blue. So I'm gonna grab my brush. So I would add a little white to your blue. The reason is the blue on top of yellow isn't gonna show up as pure blue. It's gonna look a little greenish. So what I've done is added a tiny bit of white to my blue. It lightened the color a little, but that's going to give you good coverage. And you can test it out. You can use blue directly over a yellow area and you'll see that it looks different. But once you add a little bit of white, that's going to give you some good coverage. Okay, so that's what I've done here. Perfect. I love this really nice bright blue. And so with this, I'm just going to be a little more careful. I'm a little more strategic on where I'm placing it. So now what I'm looking for are gaps and places that look a little messy. My blue is my cover up.
Sorry, I lost you again. Are we still on green?
Oh, we have switched to blue. So you.
All right, thank you.
That's okay. I'm sorry, you're having problems. So what you want to do is make sure that you clean your brush. You're using the same brush, clean off all of the green, and then we're just using blue with a little tiny bit of white in it because the white is going to help cover up any yellow that's behind it. So not a lot. See how dark my blue is? So I didn't add a lot of white, but there's definitely some on there and it makes a difference. So you know, add just a tiny bit. And then your blue is your cover up. So if you see spots that need a little bit of touching up, you want to conceal something, your blue is your concealer.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. And I accidentally got some black paint on my blue. If that happens, clean your brush off, it's better that you take a moment to clean off your brush if you accidentally grab a color you didn't mean to, than to see that color on your painting for the rest of time. So just take a moment and clean it off. Is what I'm doing right now. Also, very important, once we're finished with this, just take a moment and, you know, look at all edges of your canvas and make sure that you cover everything that you need to. Also, another thing that I sometimes will do when I'm working on a painting, I will put it somewhere in my house where I see it every day, because when you look at it, you might say, oh, that little spot's bothering me. It didn't bother me yesterday, but it's bothering me right now. So you can always go back and just touch it up. But some things don't stand out immediately. They take like a day or two to really sink in. So that's something that I do that's helpful. And acrylic is really wonderful because you can go back in and touch up and work on a painting forever, essentially. I have this painting over on the, I'll just turn over to it real quick here. So it's an ocean view. And I have started it, let's see, I started it about 2 years ago. So it's a process. I hope to finish it at some point. Don't know when, but I will. Also, paintings always look better from further back, okay? So when you're working on something, just know that once it's further back and it's on a wall or in a frame, it's always gonna look much better, okay? Just like when you're doing your makeup, if you're right up front, you can see your pores and all of your imperfections, you're focused on that, and then you step back and you're like, wow, I look nice. So don't ever be like critical of your painting up close. It really is supposed to be viewed from 5, 10, 15 feet away. All right, so don't be hard on yourselves. I have to tell myself that. We are very hard on ourselves. All right, so I'm gonna stop. I've got a really nice, you know, I've got a lot of repetition, contrast. It's very unified. There's a lot of balance, top and bottom, side to side. When I squint my eyes, I don't see any huge yellow areas that need some leaves. I don't see, you know, a lot of color that needs to be placed somewhere else. It's pretty good. So that's what I want you all to kind of look at while you're working on this. If you wanted to, when we're finished with the class and you still have your paints out, if you want to, you can go down the sides and add leaves to the sides as well, so that you have, you know, that continuation of your artwork on the sides. That's okay to do. I'm not going to do it for the sake of this class because of time restraints, and you won't be able to see it on here. So don't worry about it for me, but you do it if you'd like to. Okay. So are there any questions at this point? Does anybody have any questions before we all show our artwork? All right, good. So if you want to show your artwork, I would love to see what your finished artwork looks like. So I encourage you to take this moment and show what you have created. Take full responsibility for it. You've done an amazing job. So very nice. Beautiful. Ooh, wow. It looks really good. If everybody wouldn't mind doing this, what I'd like to do is take a snapshot of the screen while you all are here, that would be great. Very nice. So if your camera's off, if you want to share your artwork, I would love to see it. Thank you. Nice job. Beautiful.
The host took off my video.
Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. Let's see. Just hold it for 1 second, guys. I'm going to just take a snap with my snip tool here. Very cool. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. So that's the end of the class. Make sure that you sign your artwork. I usually like sign it down at the bottom here with a marker, or you can use paint and your smallest brush. Follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. You can tag us if you want to. That would be really great. Social media is really big for our business, so make sure that you tag us and let people know about our business and what we do and our Zoom classes that we're hosting right now. I know that COVID has been, at the forefront of everyone's lives, and everybody's had to make some sacrifices and adjustments, and this is our way of doing that, and we're just really glad to still be able to serve you in an artistic way and teach us something and just bring everyone together for something positive. So thank you. I'm Vanessa. And if you do want to leave a Venmo tip, I would be certainly grateful for that. And my Venmo address is on my screen there. And if you have any questions or anything, if you want to reach out to me personally, I would love to speak with you and, answer any questions that you might have. And I'm really thankful that you all joined us tonight. So thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy, for hosting the Zoom meeting. And I hope to see you all one day in person at the studio.
Thank you.